Behind me is an unusual looking wall. This is a navvy wall. These are really about enclosing fields. They belong to, instead, movement to the land, edges of travel, and to places where land had to endure repeated use. Therefore makes most sense when read as part of a corridor rather than a boundary, shaping and controlling how people, animals and vehicles pass through the landscape. Along historic cart routes, the ground suffered constant punishment. Iron-rimmed wheels bit into the surface, hooves churned their edges, and heavy loads dragged their way along tracks that were often little more than compacted earth. In such conditions, a conventional drystone wall built with a batter and laid in courses would be vulnerable. Pressure at the base would cause it to bulge and eventually fail. An upright wall of stones, like behind, set on edge, behaves differently. Each stone is driven deep into the ground, so the force of the impact travels downward rather than outward. Stability comes from depth and weight, not from slope. These walls also acted as edge control. They held back verges and banks, stopped tracks from spreading into muddy expanses during wet weather. On busy routes, carts naturally tried to avoid ruts and standing water, and roads would widen as traffic drifted outward. A hard vertical stone face prevented that creep, keeping movement disciplined and confined to a defined line. In upland areas and at village edges where space was limited and surfaces fragile, this mattered a great deal. For what reason? Walls of this type often appear beside old packhorse and cart roads, at village entrances and exits, alongside bridges and cuttings, around yards and loading areas, and near railway approaches or early industrial sites. They mark places where traffic was expected, repeated and unavoidable. There is also a practical labour story behind them. The term Navvies wall comes from the navvies themselves, the labourers who built Britain's canals, turnpike roads, railways and much of its 19th century infrastructure. These men worked fast and hard, using methods that favoured strength, speed and economy. Setting stone upright was efficient. Large blocks that would be awkward to course horizontally could be driven straight into the ground, each one acting like a post. Once properly bedded, they resist the frost, vibration, impact, hooves, carts, and later wheeled traffic far better than traditional coursed wall. This style was especially suited to the places navvies worked most: roadsides, village edges, bridges and cuttings, yards and railway margins, and for wealthy landowners. An upright wall created a hard vertical face that protected verges, retained soil and defined space without spreading outwards. In tight locations, a battered wall would take up too much room and deteriorate more quickly. A navvy wall stayed narrow, firm and durable. There is also a visual and behavioural effect. and Navvies wall looks uncompromisingly. It offers no footholds, no gentle slope, and no invitation to climb or cross. It communicates its purpose instantly for people, animals, and vehicles alike. It removes ambiguity. The route is here, not there. Although Navvies wall is an informal term rather than an academic one, it names something real. This upright stonework sits at the meeting point of older traditions such as prehistoric and medieval street curbing and the urgent practical demands of industrial labour. It is stone used decisively without ornament to impose order on ground that had function. When people recognise these walls as Navvies walls, I suppose we're acknowledging that heritage. These are not decorative features, nor are they typical agricultural boundaries. They are the material language of work, shaped by muscle, urgency, and experience, and built to endure along routes where movement never truly stopped. So, thank you for watching this segment, and I hope you've learned a bit about a Navvies wall. And when you go out on your walk, look around the beautiful landscape for all these Drystone walls built by men and nowadays ladies. So thank you very much for watching, and I do hope you'll enjoy the next segment of Drystone walling.